The bug invasion has begun, so no matter what part of the country you're in, your trees can be attacked by these pesky little insects. So it's good to know what to look for, the effects these bugs can have, and how to stop them. All right, Steve, in the Midwest, the emerald ash borer has been a problem for years, but that has now spread throughout the country. How many states sees this emerald ash borer?
So throughout the country, it may vary. In certain parts like Michigan, Illinois, it's sort of old hat now. Everybody's sort of used to it and they've seen it, and it might actually be hard to find ash trees that aren't infested. But in other parts of the country, like down south or further out west, this is a new problem, or it may not have even gotten to some of those areas yet. So it's a bright iridescent green color that really stands out. It's relatively long, rather narrow. It's about a ½ inch long, and those little baby insects will bore into the tree. And that's the stage that really does the damage.
What am I looking for in the tree? Is there a certain sign that I know this is the emerald ash borer?
The first sign of emerald ash borer working in a tree will be woodpeckers feeding on the top of the tree. Those larvae are inside there, and for a bird, those make a really tasty snack. So they will literally start pulling the bark off the tree to eat the larvae within it. That's the first signs that you'll really see in an ash tree. Later on, as the infestation progresses, you'll start to see the D-shaped exit holes that you hear referred to regularly. And those are great symptoms of emerald ash borer, but usually if you're starting to get that in your tree, it's probably a little late for treatment.
We had 5 ash trees, and the canopy on one was starting to thin out. That was probably my first clue. I just noticed it.
With emerald ash borer, if you do absolutely nothing, the tree I think will be dead in like 3 years. Realize that even though you see the symptoms of the death, they could be much farther as far as infestation, so you either remove it or you treat it. That's your only options at that point.
Steve says there are a couple of ways to treat emerald ash borer. One is through a soil application that gets into the root system and is moved throughout the tree. And the other are trunk injections applied by a professional.
Steve, our arborist, he was reporting that in our area, they were starting to get some good results. So we decided to try it. One tree that I first noticed the thinning of the canopy on, this year I cannot tell you how thrilled we are with its appearance. It was full.
Another insect that came to the U.S. from Asia and started to populate on the East Coast about 4 years ago is the spotted lanternfly, which is a very obvious insect to spot.
It's a big bug.
Yeah.
It's like a ½ inch wide and like an inch long, which for insects is pretty darn big. It's very weirdly colored with spots and sort of a pinkish gray color to it, and it's becoming a real problem and starting to continue to spread.
With spotted lanternfly, since it's a plant sucker, it'll kill the tree kind of over a couple of years. It's a much slower death because it's more so repeated defoliation instead of actual cutting off of the nutrients like what the borers do.
The spotted lanternfly typically attacks the tree of heaven, but they will also get onto fruit crops like grapes and apples, which then destroys these resources for human consumption. So treatment is key.
So many times when we're treating spotted lanternfly, it's going to be either a soil-injected application, or we're going to be using some sort of topical spray, something we spray on the tree.
In the world of good versus evil, all is not lost with these invasive bugs. There are some friendly little insects that we want in our yards too.
Butterflies are important pollinators because, of course, they're moving from flower to flower. They're getting the pollen, they're moving things around. That's what they're feeding on primarily. Honestly, our grocery store shelves would be quite empty if we didn't have pollinators.
Not only butterflies, but bees and even bats are all pollinators, and they're doing good things for the environment.
All these fall under like the beneficial insects because they're helping, transfer pollen from one plant to another so that they can then reproduce.
Steve says the most important thing to remember when it comes to the health of your trees is to go out and look at them. Notice the signs, notice if things look unusual, and do some research, or even call an arborist to help before it's too late.
You go see your doctor once a year, call out your arborist once a year, and just have them check over the trees.
Because we need our trees.
Trees are important to the landscape. There's a lot of things that help make us healthier people because we have that greenery, our trees and our shrubs, and those other green plants in our lives that make our lives better.
We learned a lot of information today, and it's important to know what signs to look for to protect our trees. So don't let those pests bug you. Plant a tree, stop and smell the roses, and just get out there and enjoy nature.